Hello and welcome back to Football Kentron, the only English language podcast dedicated to Armenian football. We are back today after being on opposite sides of the earth, on opposite watch party spectrums. Chadens in the stadium, Armen on his couch, and me in a bar in Glendale with 100 other Armo men. It was a wild and insane time, but we have a lot to get to. Gentlemen, this is going to be a little bit of a different one. We're just going to be focusing mainly on Armenia versus Turkey. We will talk about the Cyprus game as well, but our primary focus is the Euro 2024 qualifying game, which ended in a scoreline of Armenia 1 and Turkey 2. There were 3 Turks on the goal scoring sheet. Kabak in the 10th minute with an own goal, Kokcu in the 34th minute with a decent strike, and then Aktutorglu in the 64th minute with a little bit of a smart play is what I would call it. But before we jump into it, Armen, why don't you tell us what the Armenian starting lineup looked like and what was the essentially formation and approach to the game?
What's up? Well, at goal there was Arsen Beglarian, the way it was supposed to be. We lined up 3 starting center backs. It should have been Andrei Chalashir, but he got injured right before the game, I think the day before. Yep. So we had Georgi Harutyunyan stepping up with his very first professional minutes senior football, not professional, but senior football. So it was Georgi Harutyunyan, about whom we'll be talking in depth later, the captain Varas Tataroyan, and lastly, Daron Voskanyan, no comment. Fullbacks, another debutant about whom we'll be talking long and deep, Nair Tiknizyan, and on the right back, Gamo Hovannesyan. Down at the middle, it was Ugechuku Ivu, another debutant, and the star goat, young king, all of that and more. It was Spertsyan pulling the strings for the team. Up front off the wings, Lucas Selarayan and Tigran Pazekyan off the right wing, Norberto Briasco Balikian as the lone striker. It was a 3-4 was it a 3-4-3?
3-4-3,
yeah. That it would become a 5-2-3. I have my thoughts and comments, but more on that later on. That was Armenia's 11, ladies and gentlemen.
Chadens, this might be a little bit more difficult for you, but why don't you walk us through the Turkish starting lineup for this game? They went with, I'd say, experience more than anything, right?
So the Turkish lineup was 4-3-3 with Günok in goal, Kabak the own goal scorer, Bulut, Soyuncu, Demiral in defense, with Kadioglu, Çalhanoglu, and Kokcu in midfield. And their attacking 3 was filled with Unal, Under, and Tosun.
Yeah, so pretty strong lineup from the Turkish side. They were coming into this game pretty fresh, I would say, as compared to us. I think they only had like 1 injury, and it was like a player had a cold or something. So not much compared to ours. So let's first talk about a couple things. First, let's start with Armenia's defensive problem. This is something that we were told and heard that it was going to be, we were going to start seeing some changes, and then about 24 hours before the match starts, we get news that Andrei Chalashir is injured. He's not starting, and he's one of the people we anticipated to start in this game. Then during the match, his replacement, which we assume is Daron Voskanyan, gets injured, and Stiopa Makirchan, who was just getting rehabilitated from a back injury, comes onto the field in the first half, only to be substituted in the second half early because he re-aggravated his injury. So that's 3 central defenders injured in a span of 24 hours for Armenia. We have an 18-year-old central defender making his national team debut coming in as a replacement. and then we have Harutyunyan, who hasn't been in the best of form. And that was the circus that I would call our back line before this game started. But all things considered, they actually didn't play bad at all. And we'll get into that. But first, let us talk about the opening goal in the match, which was Kabak's own goal that was started by a very intricate piece of skill by debutant Nair Tiknizyan, who spanned his defender using some like little inside flick thing and played it into Iwu in the midfield. Iwu took it out on the right wing, where I believe it was in awaiting Kamo Hovanesyan, who then hit the ball up to Tigran Barsegyan, who held it up, passed it back to Kamo, who blasted the ball in across the face of the goal towards the far post, where Lucas Zelarayan was actually making a diagonal run inwards. But Kabak put his foot in the way and went into an own goal. Gentlemen, I'll open this floor up to first for whoever wants to start it. Maybe we'll start with you, Chanan, since you were in the stadium. From where you were sitting, and at the time, I know it's a lot of emotions and stuff running high, but what were your thoughts on the goal, on the build-up, from your perspective in the actual stadium? Because you didn't get the benefit of a replay. Of course, you watched the goals after again, like how we all did. But what was your thoughts as it was unfolding in real time in front of you?
Wow. It's a feeling I'm never gonna get again. Very difficult. It's gonna be very difficult to get a feeling like that again. I felt that it was unexpected to score this early after getting one very good chance within the first 10 minutes. We believed that there could be more. And after that, there were some good attempts in trying to get forward. The main idea was we knew we could do more, and there was even a bigger hope. And there was this thing going on, because I watched again the clip that I took, because I actually managed to take a video clip of the goal. Everyone were shaking their hands around me. It was like, in a way, it was like, come on, let's go, let's keep going, let's attack more, let's do more. And then the whole stadium was chanting Hayastan like non-stop.
Sounds like a dream come true. I could tell you from my perspective, I was at the bar Underdogs, of course, for our watch party that we were co-hosting. Packed bar with 100+ people in there, and it's not that big of a space. Maybe even more. Maybe it was like 150 people. I don't even know. Millions of screens and a humongous projection screen. You would think we were in the stadium. That's how loud it got in there. That's how loud it got during the goal. That's how loud it got during the national anthem. It was an incredible experience. Anmen, from a technical standpoint, the build up to the goal, this is something that like we haven't necessarily seen from an Armenian side in a while, at least. Was probably one of the better build-ups I've ever seen. Sadly, it came out to an own goal, not one of our players putting the ball in the back of the net, but it still all counts the same. But the build-up, a Spertsyan-less build-up, I would say. What was your thoughts on it from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, I was actually gonna get literally into that. Read my mind. But before I do analyze technically, even if it was an own goal, there was Lucas. Like, he was there to push it in if Kabak hadn't done so. So it was gonna be a goal regardless. Like, no matter how you look at it, it was a play through and through that was gonna end up in goal. So yeah, all around a great goal, teamwork. It was insane, honestly. Like, to see the team sync that well, and you could already, like, off the bat, you could already see Petrakov's hand, and it was kind of like a set piece in motion. Tiknizyan starting it off with an insane flick. Like, I loved watching people, reading people tweets and stuff from non-Armenians, even Turks and neutrals. Everyone's surprised at a left back doing what Tiknizyan just did. Then you got Iwu with a awesome pass. Again, the 1-2, as you mentioned, between Tico and Camo. No, it was a beauty, really. One thing I wanna remark before we move on. I see a lot of people calling for Camo Vanessian to play more and whatnot. But him and Tico had that play and not much more. So please take that into account. Both of them are great, quote unquote, but they're getting old. And you could tell. On the one hand, Camo had that great run and a beautiful first half hour, maybe even a beautiful first half all around. But the second half was more of the same, and that was partly why we got overrun. But more on that later. The goal was a beauty, and the team was there, and a lot more to look forward to based on that.
Yeah, and as we had mentioned, so we scored that goal. That was in the 10th minute. That was coming off, I would say, our second wave of pressure of attack during that game. And then in the 28th minute, I would say after a solid 7-8 minutes of Turkey having the ball and then a little bit more of our domination, we created a couple more chances. There was this another really good run in the back post that from Lucas Delran, where he slid and he barely missed the ball.
That was crazy.
There was a lot of diagonal passes I noticed from Iwu when he received the ball deep. He was looking for Tiknizyan's run on the left sides. One of them actually connected and it created to another chance. And then from here, things started to get a little bit rough. So Daron Voskanyan got injured. He got injured during a tackle when he was in the Turkish box. This is a point that for some reason I haven't seen come up nearly enough. But he was making a challenge for the ball. He got in front of the defender. Then the defender subsequently took him down via leg-to-leg contact. And he goes down and he's hurt. Like you could tell he's not moving. For some reason, that play, the ref whistled a foul, but it seemed like he whistled a foul on Voskanyan, which didn't make sense because Voskanyan was the one that got tackled, which made that play not being able to be reviewed by VAR. Because as pointed out by Petrakov after this game and in the pre-match of the Cyprus game, that should have been a penalty. And I 100% agree that should have been a penalty. Gentlemen, I'll open this up to you guys just so we can discuss this non-given penalty for a minute.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
It might have been hard for you to remember, Chadins, because you were where you were in the stadium, but we got several replays of that on our feed, and from any angle you look at it, Daron got tackled really hard with no attempt at the ball.
Yeah,
I remember him being down, but I don't remember how it happened. I watched the highlights today just to refresh my memory, but it didn't show.
It's not even showing on the highlights, which is crazy.
Oh my god.
Amen.
It was a penalty. I mean, I was just mentioning how third parties and not just us were surprised at Tiknizyan. Well, I was reading tweets from non-Armenians and whatnot, and they were all saying it was a penalty. It was a clear pen. One thing I want to get into in relation to that, strictly more throughout the whole game now, and not just one incident, is that Turkey was the fair winner. We could have drawn, we could have equalized, and even won that game. Could have gone our way, easy. That wouldn't be it was a fair result all in all. Could have gone our way as well. It would have been very realistic considering how the game went, right? But one thing that I also see that people are not mentioning that much, that was brought up during the presser. It was spoken. I spoken about this with several friends. They all agreed. The ref, it was like he wasn't decisive, other than this missed penalty call, but he did like sanction every single split decision their way. Like on every single doubt, he was going like just to be sure, just in to be safe. Let's go with the more footballistic tradition team, the one with the more pedigree. I don't know, kind of thing. Because every split decision, bro, really, every
Yeah,
split
I
decision was
have.
going to be.
So I have numbers actually to back that up. So in the first half, Turkey received 3 yellow cards and we received 1. And during that time, they committed about 13 fouls in that first half. Sorry, not 13. 9 fouls in that first half, most of which were on Norberto Briasco-Balakian. He was the most foul
What a
player. He played his role superbly in this game as a hold-up player. And then after those 3 yellow cards that the Turkish side were given, Armenia was penalized for what felt like every single foul. At the end of the day, we did commit substantially more fouls than Turkey did, especially in the second half. But I will say the amount of fouls that should amount to yellow cards were a lot larger on the Turkish side, especially in that second half. They didn't get a single yellow card until the 91st minute. So that entire second half where they gave I think it was like 6 or 7 fouls, some of which were awful tackles, nothing, or shirt pullbacks or something, like things that should be given as a yellow card, advantages that weren't given. I remember, I can't remember who it was, but there was
even one part where Camo was given a yellow, maybe. I'm not sure if he was given a yellow after that, but he fouled apparently, but he didn't even touch the player.
Oh, that one too. Yeah, there was a couple instances of that actually, and in the second half, Khorem Bayramyan's yellow card in the 65th minute, he did not do anything.
Oh yeah.
There was no foul, there was no tackle, there was nothing. It was a throw-in for Turkey. He looked at the ref and he was like, "Why is it a throw-in for them?" And then the ref gave him a yellow card.
Oh my God, bro, we had one more yellow card than they did. Like even that went their way. Like he was so much easier on them than he was on us. And to top it all off, he ended the game like 15 seconds earlier when it was us attacking, looking for the equalizer.
I think he just wanted this game to end. I think that's what it was. Without any sort of some fiasco or something.
I get it, but it does add up. Like to the
I
other
agree.
thing.
I agree. And so after Daron Voskanian got injured, things started to shift in terms of momentum a little bit. So the Turkish side had a very, very heavy set of possession where they created 2 decent opportunities within a couple minutes, and that eventually led to their equalizing goal from Kokchu in the 34th minute. Let's break this goal down a bit because I think this goal is a little bit easier to break down than the second goal that Turkey scored, because this goal comes from one thing, and that is a lack of pressure on the ball. At this time, we saw all of the Armenian players in the box. We had Edward Spertsyan and Iwu, who are supposed to be the people that are giving pressure on the top of the box of the players. And if I'm not mistaken, Iwu was covering one of the Turkish attackers, and then it was Spertsyan's responsibility to come across and fill in the space and stop any potential balls going into the box. Spertsyan notices this shift a little too late, and then at that point, Kokchu puts in my opinion, a very good strike into the bottom right corner of Beglarian through traffic. I'd like to think that was the only place that guy could have put the ball that it would have been a goal. And fair play to them. I thought it was a very, very good goal. Boys, open this up to you guys. Thoughts on Turkey's equalizing goal? What could Armenia have done better to prevent that? And so on. Let's start with you, Chadens. From your perspective, what did that look like? Besides being deflating for the crowd, which I'm sure it was.
Well, for me, that specific goal, I mean, it was like a turn off. Everyone switched off, and we conceded. It's normal, understandable. However, for the future, we're going to try to avoid these kind of scenarios, obviously. A specific key defensive issue I had personally was the fact that whenever Turkey got below the halfway line, so they were let's say it's our half of the field, halfway to that, so right outside the box, there was no aggressive pressing on their players. That was my main issue. I don't know if you guys saw that, but for me that was a key issue, because that's how they could just get short passes through and they could make chances, and maybe the first goal was something of that sort. There was not enough press. There were 3 players in front who could have just gone to the player and try to get the ball off of him at least.
Armin?
Yeah. As you guys mentioned, first and foremost, it was like a beautiful strike. It was a stunner. The only place he could have placed the ball, put the ball in, and it would be in. But as you mentioned as well, it was a loss of focus. I attribute this to the kind of game it was, like the significance it had to fans, players, everyone alike. You could tell that we started off a little too eager, and it paid off with a goal. And it showed because we were pressuring them. They were getting nervous early on. We got the lead early on. We were looking further for more goals and whatnot. But at around the 25th, 30th minute, it was the first span of time where we kind of like lowered our guard. I don't know if the expression would be right, but it was the first span of time, like the first half hour mark. We lost a little bit of focus because we were already worn out. We're not used to that kind of games, let alone at that level. So Turkey noticed, the Turkish team as a whole, I would say, including the coaching staff and whatnot, because they are more used to this kind of games. Like naturally, they play European Cups more often. They play club European Cups as well every year. So they noticed this, and they started to give the ball to Calhanoglu way more often. I noticed, like 31st minute, they did have like a hint that they were going to do something dangerous. And I said, oh, please don't let Calhanoglu get the ball. Mark him. I remember yelling at the screen. And said and done, 3 minutes later, Calhanoglu somehow finds teammates that find Kökçü. The mark was not quite there, which is also part, not just the lack of focus, but what you mentioned, guys, Spertsyan should have been there. That's also because Edward was played out of position. He played great. He had, like, overall, he had a good game and a good camp. But you could tell that's not his natural position. And it showed. Unfortunately, he didn't get the shine. One thing I mentioned throughout, like, weeks now, I think that Zelarayan and Spertsyan should have switched roles. I will elaborate on that later.
Yeah, that's something that we could definitely talk about. But wrapping up the first half, so that goal was the start of 10 minutes of solid pressure from the Turkish side, and a couple of counter-attacking opportunities that didn't really come to fruition because every single time we would recover the ball, we would get fouled, and that led to 3 straight red cards. I mean, yellow cards for the I wish red cards. 3 straight yellow cards for the Turkish side. Soyuncu, Bulut, and Demiral all got into the book because we were started to become a lot more dangerous on the counterattack. But it kind of looked very similar to what it used to look like. It looked like it was going to build up to something good, but then someone would make a dumb pass or a stupid error or try to take on one too many players, and it would just lead to another turnover. And so we go into halftime at 1-1, and at this point, there's a couple of overarching things we can mention. One, the crowd at the game was unreal. Chadens, you of course being there could probably speak to this the most.
Oh yeah.
But that was the loudest I have ever seen an Armenia game. The fans were doing chanting. There was pyrotechnics. There was smoke. There was everything you, as a football fan, when you think of really good. I'm not talking about Premier League. Premier League's like too glamorous. I'm not talking about the glamour part of football, but I'm talking about you think of like a real derby game. You're talking about I don't know, maybe like a Red Star versus what's the other one, Armin? You would know this.
Partizan.
Partizan,
Yeah.
something like that, where they had like all the flares going off, the smoke, the chanting, nonstop. That's what it was. And credit to the first Armenian Friends, the official ultras of Armenian football, for not only gathering people in the build-up to the game, which Shadens, you're a part of. I'm going to come to you, obviously, for all this right now. But during the game, they did a number of great things to keep our team motivated. Shadens, just give us a little bit about what that experience was like in that first half, like in the stadium, maybe the build-up to the game. How did that all feel?
It started from 4 hours, 3.5 hours before the game. They all gathered at the opera, in front of the opera, and half an hour before starting to march. So like at 6 they were supposed to march, 3 hours before the game. 5:30 they started singing. They started gaining attention. People who did not have any idea about football, they were just, you could tell they were looking, they were so curious. There were even some foreigners, non-Armenians. I could hear them coming and asking, sorry, are these football fans? Sorry, is there a game today? And they were like, it was so interesting. And then afterwards, we marched all the way to the stadium. In the streets, even if people with cars were blocked and they couldn't move, they were beeping, they were showing support, they were clapping. People from buildings, you could see, they were clapping, video recording. Everyone from the whoever was marching, they were clapping back, non-stop chanting Hayastan. And I want to take this opportunity to say two things. One, well done to the FAF, to the First Armenian Front, for doing this. And two, to show the difference between us as people and some other countries who think that it's our hatred towards the others. It's not. It's the fact that we love our country so much that we do these things. And this was the chance to show to the world of sport who we're made of. Even though we lost, this showed our standards. This showed who we are as people. And we love this sport and we love our homeland.
Yes, it's a big credit to them. It was great, and it carried on to the friendly game after as well. But back to the match. So halftime at this point, we're reflecting on the first half and also looking at the bench and seeing who are the game changers that can come off the bench. Some surprise news when the matchday squad was released. There were some big omissions. The first of which being Hrant Ranos, who was omitted for the squad. This was something that we thought would happen. We were never really given the exact reason. We were told his paperwork wasn't ready, but then it was also ready 3 days later to play against Cyprus. So who really knows what happened there? But even bigger of a surprise was that Giraj Shahoyan and Artur Seropyan were not included in the squad, in the matchday squad against Turkey. So looking at the bench, There were not as many attacking options, but there were still quality attacking options. We had, of course, Sargi Salamian and Vahan Bichakyan, who both did come off the bench in the second half. But moving forward, the second half started a little bit similar, actually, to how the first half went. There was about it was about 10 minutes or so of Turkish pressure. Then we had another little counterattacking opportunities that just weren't working. Turkey had some heavy opportunities. Armenia created one or two good chances, but that didn't really come into anything. And then during a spell of about 5 minutes or so of pressure, the Turkish side took the lead in this game. And that came in the 64th minute from Aktürkoğlu, who scored a goal that really demonstrates how well Armenia played in this game, but also simultaneously shows that you can easily be punished at this level, and that is what you should expect. The way that this goal happened was there was a foul in the build-up, and our entire back line was pressed up against to the center field area, and the Turkish team took the kick quickly. The ref allowed them to take the ball quickly, which is totally within his purview. The ball was not moving. The ball was completely still, and it was a straight through pass that threaded between Harutyunyan and Haroyan, who were kind of not paying attention at the time. They were just looking around their left and right shoulders to try to get the back line reset, not realizing that, hey, this guy could take the ball quickly, which is normally why you would see players jumping in front of balls or kicking a ball away a little bit. It's to give their team the opportunity to draw back and to reshape and get back in position. That didn't happen. They were both busy trying to get the rest of the back line in order. Turkey took the ball quickly. One pass threaded through. Aktürkoğlu straight in on goal. Very nice near post shot. Beglaryan got down, but not quick enough. And 2-1 Turkey. Gentlemen, I think I'll start by saying, one, I think this showed how both goals came during lapses of concentration, which shows that Armenia is capable, at least this team that was put out, of concentrating in a match for 90 minutes. But lapses at this level, and at one of the higher levels of football, are gonna cost you, and that's what we saw here. I don't think we can blame individual players per se for this second one. I think it was like a whole team issue, because the entire back line, or Iwu, or Spertsyan, or one of the wing backs, no one thought to say, hey, we should get in front of that ball, which is something that they had done several times before that goal happened. And the one time they didn't do it, Turkey stayed on. They were still sharp because they had about a solid 10 minutes of pressure. So they were very much in attack mode. And they saw the opportunity and they took advantage. Armen, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on that second goal. How did you feel about it?
You summed it up pretty nicely. Again, yeah, what I felt is, not this again. Again, 10 minutes lapse in concentration again proves deadly. Simple. That's several things, like the pedigree I mentioned, like the tradition, the football tradition. They grew up playing much more football than kids in Armenia usually do. Vato should have been there. Vato should have, like our captain Haroyan, we love him. But as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's been a while since he's been at his best. It's like after leaving La Liga, he hasn't been the same. It's a shame. He had a really bad game overall for what he has us used to. We can't really say much about that. Yeah, again, it was all about focus. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a professionalism thing. I mean, it's gonna come over time, so that's what I believe.
Yeah, and I
We
think
gotta
this is
talk about Georgi though.
yeah, and this is where we can reiterate the fact that we had an 18-year-old central defender who came in this game, pocketed a La Liga striker, Unal, the entire game, uh, did a superb job. And I think that the older players, the players that were more experienced players, were the ones that let the team down in this game. Uh,
Exactly. It's been
it,
for a while actually.
it has been for a while, and that is something we've been talking about. But these are places that experienced players like Harutyunyan should know. Get in front of the ball. Experienced players like Harutyunyan, Kamo, who has a million caps for this team, or Tigran Barsegyan, or someone yells at the player next to them, at Iwu, at Spertsyan, or tells them, hey, pressure the ball. And these experienced players who you anticipate in traditional football have the leadership experience were the ones that didn't do those leadership-esque things that needed to be done. Instead, you saw Tiknizyan doing a lot on his own. You saw Spertsyan trying his best to carry the ball, to organize the midfield. You saw Zelarayan and Briasco, who both don't even speak Armenian, trying to make sure everyone is getting into position. And it just makes you think, like, these players that we look to that are supposed to be those leaders had really, really let us down.
By the way, a detail from Balekyan. After I watched the highlights again today, I realized that that player was annoying the Turkish defense, and it was brilliant. He was running up and down, and he was annoying them, and we could get fouls because of that.
Yeah,
It's good.
I think he had a really underappreciated game, and you could really see the difference when Norby got subbed off, and instead you got Sargis Adamyan came up top. You notice the difference, the drop in intensity in this, and it was noticeable. I would say again in the next game, frontline substitutions, there was just a drop in intensity. Balekyan, I think, did exactly what he does as an RG, and Armen, you can probably speak more to this, but that was be a fly, be an annoying fly, and be everywhere and get under the skin.
What are you implying?
I'm implying that he brought a good South American mentality to this game.
Yeah,
That's what
I
he
did.
brought. He brought a really good South American, how to piss off the other team. That's why they got so many yellow cards, because he was pissing them off, and it was
Bro,
working.
he brought up the hustle. Like he was asked to hustle, and that's what he did. You mentioned it, like that was his task, and he carried it out to perfection. If anything, the one that was a little underwhelming was the compatriot Lucas, who is not young, by the way. Like he's a classic number 10 that can work as a central mid, which is why I think it was a no-brainer, bro, that Lucas and Edo, Zelarayan and Spertsyan should have switched places, and both would have delivered and performed much better and brought the team much more results, because Lucas in a central role down the central lane with his experience and his pedigree would know how to pull strings, would know much better how to like feel the temperature of the game. And Edo off the wings instead of Lucas would have been much more deadly. And considering we literally spoke and time again before the game on the show, before the game, that speed and pace was going to be key. Lucas is the slowest attacker we have, no matter how magical he is, and it showed. And Spertsyan is deadly fast, can dribble at like I would say he dribbles faster than he does without the ball.
Yeah.
But
And that
why
was a no.
Zelarayan in the middle though? Zelarayan in the middle of the field or in the middle attacking role?
He says just switch their places. Have Zelarayan be playing that deeper role, that Edo is playing the ball carrying role, and then have Edo be part of as a left winger or interchanging with the front line. That way he can come in deep, get the ball, and make those runs without having to pick the ball up from before, like in our side of the field, rather on their side of the field, pick the ball up where he'll be a lot more effective.
Isn't Zelarayan though more attacking?
No,
No,
like he's
they're
creative. Not
both
attacking.
equal. I'd say they're both equal in attacking, but as Ahmed said, he's creative. And
Mm.
Edo is more of a direct,
I
and
mean,
Zelarayan's is more indirect, which would play better into him playing deeper.
it's
Mm.
simple. Like Lucas is
Okay.
kind of a passive player. Like he likes to get the ball and move it around a little bit. Kind of like in basketball. I think it's the point guard you call it. But Lucas was literally bullied by the Turkish right back. Like that wouldn't have happened with Edo. Like give the ball to him and the right back wouldn't have even seen him coming.
Yeah, and in this game, that the one time that Edo got a really good runoff from higher up in the midfield when he picked up the ball, he played that incredible through ball to Lucas.
Oh,
That ball, I think it cut through three Turkish defenders, one of them sliding in to try to intercept, and Lucas got a touch and then tried to get the shot off, and it got blocked. But it's
by the way.
incredible. I don't think Lucas even thought that pass would go through.
Exactly. Bro, by the way, had it been a faster play instead of Lucas at that place, it would have been goal. It would have been in.
Yeah, it would have been. So I think that's another. But also, I mean, you have to look at it from his perspective. I think he would have been more prepared had he thought that the
Yeah.
pass would have gone through. Which, to be fair, he should have anticipated. He should always anticipate the pass will come. But that was an insane pass from Spertsyan. That was like That was a world class pass. That's like
It was a show.
if Luka Modric did that pass,
Uh,
you would see that all over Twitter for the rest of the day. That's the type of pass that was. But of course, Edo's Armenian, no one's really paying attention to him, or were they?
Honestly, no fault of their own. Also, like, I don't want to blame the players. In this case, I agree with most of what Petrakov did throughout the whole window. Like,
Yeah.
hats off, great job so far. But this one was a coaching blunder. But he'll get he's getting the taste of it.
I don't think it's fair to call it a coaching blunder. I actually think Petrakov did very well considering the circumstances. I can't call it a blunder. I actually think his tactics were very good. I think we failed because our players that we look to for leadership did not bring that experience onto the pitch like they should have.
But
that's why.
Was the Spanish, like, I think it's Javi Miniano, the assistant coach. He knows the team much better. He should have told him, look, Pet, I think you should switch these two players, and it would pay off more.
But again, he only had a few days with some of these players before this game even started. But
definitely.
And so it's he in his position, he's gonna say, okay, I know Hrant Bayramyan regularly comes off the bench. He's a very experienced player. He can do this, X, Y, and Z. But in this instance, I think his biggest mistake in this game was bringing Bayramyan on. I think that was a very wrong move. He was not the type of player for this game. As we saw the game unfold, we didn't need a player like him. We needed a more direct player. I think Girard Sharoyan would have probably been a much, much better person to have brought on, but he wasn't even on the squad list. So you could tell that he just went with who are the experienced people that I can bring in up top. That's Bayramyan, that's Adamyan, that's Bichakyan. And that's just what he went for.
You talk experience. Now let's talk newcomers.
Yeah, sure, we can talk newcomers. I mean, they were as you would call the beacon of hope of this throughout this window. Spertsyan, Harutyunyan, Ranos, Tiknizyan, all had incredible windows. Iwu, I'm gonna take a moment to say Iwu proved me wrong, and I will say this on your behalf too, Armin. He definitely proved you wrong. He played so well. I would say 60 minutes of both games. He was superb. I've never seen someone recover like that. I've never seen an Army. He was aggressive in the right ways. He He started to slip up, but you could tell when he was getting really tired. But he was covering the lanes really well. He was doing the things he should be doing. So credit to him, big credit to him. And I'm looking at this FootMob player ratings, and our ratings are substantially lower than the Turkish side's ratings. But if you look at the game statistically, we're super even. Expected goals, shots, chances created, accuracy of passes, the shot accuracies, possession, the expected goals in the second half, we outplayed them. In open play, we outplayed them. Yet our rating is lower. It just goes to tell you that we're just genuinely a not understood team. But anyway, I digress on that. I'll let you guys talk a little bit more about these young guns.
Don't even look at those ratings. Like,
they're bullshit. They're bullshit.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but yeah. I mean, bro, Harutyunyan is rated 6 points out of 10. That is not how things went down. As you mentioned, he kept, bro. You said how Ivo proved us wrong, proved me wrong. Harutyunyan did as well. I mean, I wouldn't have, like, yeah, maybe he has potential, but I never in my wildest thoughts, I would have dreamt, like in my wildest dreams, I would have thought that a kid that didn't even make first team club debut was gonna keep one of the most informed La Liga strikers in his back pocket. Like,
I watched 30 games of Liverpool this season. Joe Gomez didn't play once like that. Once.
Bro,
yeah.
The composure on this kids.
Let me drop some stats really quickly, and I'll let you continue on, man. I just wanted to reinforce your point. So he was rated 6.0 according to FootMob. He had a 76% pass accuracy. He had 37 touches on the ball. He had 4 passes into the opposition's final third. That's how much he was pushing up in this game. He had 4 out of 7 accurate long balls, which means that plan was working clearly. He won half of his ground duels, and he won 60% of his aerial duels. This is an 18-year-old kid that, for a majority of the time, according to these statistics, did better than the opposing player in front of him.
No, it was crazy. Like, I'm trying to take every stat you just brought in, and I can't wrap my mind around this kid. Like, aside from me mentioning he had Ünal in his back pocket, which was the task, like Ünal was his mark. Aside from that, there was this one play that got imprinted on my mind. Like, me and Tito went out that night. We spent part of the night talking about the game, and we were talking about this particular play. Ünder got the ball, and you know Ünder, he's fast. He's a winger, classic, a textbook winger, fast, like kind of like Shahoyan. He likes to dribble and jogo bonito type of shit. And he went at Harutyunyan thinking, here's a 2-meter tall, 18-year-old kid. I'm going to pass him quickly and easy. I'm an experienced Olympique de Marseille winger. Oh la la, très bien. No, bro. The way Georgi stopped him, it was insane. It was a clean-ass tackle. The cleanest tackle I've seen, and I'm a sucker for these things, for defense. I love clean tackles. And he got it back for us and started the counter. He was majestic with a capital M.
He definitely was. And another player we could highlight, Nair Tiknizyan. This was his Armenian National Team debut, a player that we have been talking about and waiting for years. Has experience at the highest level, played in the Under-21 World Cup, plays in European competition, starts for one of the better clubs in Russia, Lokomotiv Moscow, historically great, not doing so hot right now. He played superb. His ability to get out of pressure was amazing, and it's what led to our first goal. And he was able to dribble past players. He brought flair. He brought finesse. He brought this, like, he brought everyone else's level one level up around him. And that's the type of players that we need on this national team. And you could tell, I was looking forward to him working with Spertsyan and seeing their combinations. And the one time they combined was the time that Spertsyan made an insane pass So, it's things like that I'm looking for, and it's these young players that are the ones that are bringing it. They're providing us not only this depth that we've been looking for a very long time, but they're also bringing it on the field right now, and it's making all these older, experienced players look like shit.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, bro. Like, yeah.
Chadens, final thoughts on this game?
We are gonna develop over this. We're gonna get better than this. That's my thought.
Armen, your final thought.
Beacon of hope, baby. Like, I'm still processing.
Still processing. Yeah, and I think this is the most positive you're ever going to see us after a loss, ever. Because normally we would lose and we would say X, Y, and Z was wrong, this was wrong, that was wrong. But at this time, we looked at this team and we went,
I wouldn't have thought, like, neither of the newcomers, maybe Tiknizyan, because of what you mentioned, 5 years at the highest level, at 23, like, he's even young and still he has solid 5-year experience. Like, other than him, I wouldn't have expected the youngsters. We'll get into the Cyprus game soon as well. But, bro, the debutants, so ready. And think about the ones that will be called up soon.
yeah, there's that too. So, and we'll get into that as it builds up. But as we wrap up for us match day 1 of Euro 2024 qualifying, this is how the table is shaping up. We have Wales currently in first place with 4 points after they drew versus Croatia with a 94th minute equalizing goal during a standing ovation for Luka Modric. And then they went on to beat Latvia narrowly 1-0. And then we have Croatia also on 4 points. They, of course, drew with Wales, and then they beat Turkey away in a very convincing game. I mentioned to the boys that I watched the full 90, and Croatia's game plan was identical to Armenia's, except and they actually had way less chances than we had against Turkey.
Really?
But yeah, they did. They had less chances, but they converted when it mattered.
Yeah, quality.
And that's the difference, the quality. Then we have Turkey in third place on 3 points with a -1 goal difference. And then we have Armenia in fourth place on 0 points, and then Latvia fifth place on 0 points. Armenia and Latvia are the only 2 teams that have played 1 game this window. Turkey, Croatia, and Wales all played 2 games in this window. So next matches for Armenia, we have to wait until June. Well, it's almost April already anyway, so not that much. April, May, June, 2.5 months until we play Wales away on June 16th. And then we have Latvia at home on June 19th. But to wrap up the show, for a few minutes, we are going to be talking about Armenia versus Cyprus. This was the second game in this window, but was an international friendly. And we had a very pleasant surprise in this game, boys. We had a starting lineup that featured Hrant, Leon Ranos, Yerjanik Gubasaryan, and Eric Piloyan, and David Davidian. So several more debuts to see in this game. And this game went, I would say, like typical Armenian frustration, but also showcased so much of our talent. We dominated the ball, we played great, and then Hrant, Leon Ranos scored a brace, not once, but twice. On his debut for the Armenian national team in a 2-2 draw versus Cyprus. I'll just open the floor to you guys, just get your general thoughts on this game, on Hrant, and just what did you think? Chadens, we'll start with you.
Pretty interesting, friendly game. Ranos was phenomenal. Everyone saw that. His first goal, I repeated it many times to many people, whoever I saw. And whoever saw his goal, is that on his first goal, the way he didn't look up and he shot the ball shows how much he's got that goal scoring instinct. He's got that elite level element in him, and he's just 19 years old. That's gonna grow even further, and this is just the beginning. And regarding some other players, Tiknizyan, very good a very good notable mention. He runs, doesn't stop. He defends like his life depends on it. He's going to be phenomenal. Piloyan was good as well. Rubasaryan, very good. Good to have him in the national team. It was a player that we're looking forward to at some point, and it's finally here under Petrakov. He's gonna excel, I hope. And the match as a whole, it was good. Unfortunate that it wasn't a win for Armenia, but at the same time, good for Cyprus because obviously I'm a Cypriot Armenian. Lol. Yeah, over to you, Armen.
Yeah, love for our Cypriot brothers. It had the feel of a game. Like individually, you can't elaborate all that much. You guys already did. In general, it had the feel of a friendly game. We dominated. We felt less pressure, which is why I feel like what I saw was a team a little more free to do what they want. And it showed. Like everyone saw how we dominated through the course of the game. And again, a few individual mistakes and as well some general structural issues. Buchnev screwing it up, as we knew it would happen. But don't listen to FK, right? We're just pundits. But seriously, Buchnev, that's enough. Thank you very much. Spasiba, bratan. You're done. Big issues. Set pieces.
Set pieces,
yeah. We conceded from set pieces in both games, one each. Second big issue, headers, defending headers. We considered twice, I think. One's a direct header. The second one, an air ball that we defended like crap. Buchnev, and conceded again. So those are the two big issues. Other than that, great performance. And something that, like you guys mentioned, the inability we have usually to score. We did, however, score in both games. Something to work on and build up on.
Yeah, and that second goal from Ranos was
beauty.
A ball over the top by Sako. Beautiful first touch, rounded the keeper and tapped it into an empty net. I mean,
that German connection.
It worked. It worked a beauty, and it's similar to that South American connection between Lucas and Norby. So you could tell that Petrakov is thinking about these things in his head when he's creating his lineups. And a fun fact for you both gentlemen, because I know you're not following this at the moment because we're recording, but I am. Ranos actually scored Bayern 2's third goal right now. They're actually up 3-1, and he scored again. So of course he did. Looking forward to seeing what that one looks like.
Wow.
He's on fire. And he spent an extra day in Armenia after this game and then flew to Germany. So he spent all day Wednesday in Hayastan. He took a picture in Kaskad before he left. And
that's how he feels the jersey. Like we have so much to elaborate on. Like about the transfers, the rumors about him, about Edo Spertsyan, about the others, how the newcomers, including him, of course, sang the anthem, even though they don't speak the language. We have so much to elaborate on.
Yeah, there's so much, and this is why we're so positive, weirdly positive after a loss and a draw, because we see it, and not only do we see it, I think people finally see what we've been seeing. People finally are able to see when we've been talking about Tiknizyan, when we've been talking about Ranos, when we've been talking about player Rubasaryan, who's a Football Kentron future star player. When we've been mentioning these players and talking about them for these past almost 2.5 years we've been doing Football Kentron now. I think people are finally starting to see what we've been seeing. The talent is there. The ability is there. Now we're finally getting them on the pitch. I'm not saying we're going to the Euros, but what I am saying is this is a young Armenian team that is going to do some very, very big things.
Team building.
And on that note, thank you guys for listening. I know this show isn't as long as you guys would have hoped for, but we will be back soon. We have a lot of good stuff coming up, including Football Kentron Future Stars, another part. I know Armin is very excited about that, with a couple of players that we anticipate will be part of the national team fold soon. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. This was great. Wraps up another national team window. We will, of course, be doing all the lead up to the June matches, just like how we always do. If you don't already, subscribe, follow, like. Thank you. Our YouTube numbers have been amazing for this game, by the way. Thank you for that. This is our previous episode, our Turkey preview, was our most listened to episode of Football Kentron ever. So we really appreciate that. So continue sharing, continue to support, and let this be a foundation that Armenian football builds on. And what do we say, Chadens?
Hayastan. On to victory.
Peace.